Okay, hello, it's Olivia. I just wanted to film my introduction to these interviews. So, my first interviewee, her name is Audrey. She's a 17-year-old female from Portland, Oregon. She's currently a junior in high school in the adolescent stage. So, I think it'll be a really good interview. I think she is very mature for her age. She's my cousin also. So I do know her pretty well. I've kind of watched her grow up. So I think this will be really interesting just to see the insight she has on her development so far and just see her perspective on her life so far. So I think that'll be really interesting. Then my second interview is going to be for my mom, who's 52. She's obviously a female in middle adulthood. And I really want to kind of hone in on some motherhood questions since obviously I'm not a mom, but she is. And I just kind of want to see like her perspective on how many kids to have, as well as sleep training, since I have an idea on her thoughts, but I do want to kind of tell her what I found during my research in the class. So I think that'll be really insightful just to see what she thinks, and it's interesting. And then just to see how she views life, after her kids have left the nest. Having two married children is a lot different than it was before. So I think they'll both be really good interviews. I'm excited to see what happens. So, yep. Okay, so I have Audrey here. She's 17. She's currently in high school, living in Oregon right now. Just want to ask her a few questions about her life so far and just development stages and how she perceives her own development thus far. So I wanted to first ask you, I'll give you a list of stages. I want you to tell me what you think that you are in right now. So
Perfect.
some of them seem pretty obviously not you, but we can just see what you think. So infancy, early childhood, middle childhood, adolescence, young adulthood, middle adulthood, and late adulthood. So what do you
Okay.
think?
So the stage I think I'm in would definitely be adolescent.
Right, I think that's definitely true. You are really close to early adulthood as well, or young adulthood. Since you're almost 18, next year you will be 18.
Yes.
But
Yes.
why do you think this stage fits you the best?
Okay, so I feel like the stage fits me the best because I'm not 18 yet, and I would consider 18 to kind of be like the adult stage, and like you're finally like going to college and kind of branching off away from your parents. I feel like I'm in a weird stage where like I'm about to be 18, I'm about to make my own decisions, college, graduating high school, but as of right now, I'm still kind of under my parents' wings and under supervision. So I'm kind of still learning how to navigate everything as far as like high school, making college decisions, and I feel like of course I'm still under 18, so I can't do everything that like an 18-year-old would, if that makes sense. And then I'm also still kind of growing and like having bodily developments that like,
Hmm.
I don't have compared to like an 18-year-old or like a 20-year-old. So I'm still kind of going through
Yeah,
like those changes. Also, like my frontal lobe isn't really fully developed, so
that's true.
I'm still under that like young
Yeah.
development.
You definitely have some good insight already onto the stage and the changes you will have when you reach the next stage. Definitely about like brain development is a big thing. Some people at the stage don't have great insight onto the fact
Mhm,
that they're still young. Like obviously you have tons of like you perceive the world very close to like most adults, but there's still a few differences. Which we'll
mhm,
talk about later. But next I want to ask you, is that people in the stage are often described as trying to figure out who they are and what they want for their future, like their
mhm.
values, goals, and career path. Do you feel like that matches your experience? Why or why not?
Definitely. So are you talking about like my experience right now? Kind of going through that.
Um, right, like at this time, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Again, like I said, I'm a junior in high school. So right now it's really important, like trying to really figure out what I want to do in my career. I think definitely like parents have a lot to do with like your morals and your values and the people you surround yourself with, especially high
Hmm.
school, like being around people every single day. You kind of figure out who you want to be, your morals. Like you kind of start, I feel like, caring a lot more about what people think about you. And that
Hmm.
can also affect like how you want to act and perceive yourself. So
That's
for
true.
me, definitely a yes. And then also kind of just like what's going on in the world. Like I just definitely kind of want to be like more open-minded and have my own opinions, because again, I'm going to branch off from my parents soon. I'm going to be able to vote, so I definitely want that. And then what was that? Oh, careers. Yeah, so like
Yeah.
definitely, again, like I said, going into college, I
Hmm.
kind of am thinking about that a lot more than I would
Yeah.
have sophomore and freshman year.
Right. As a junior, you're kind of like in that stage where it's like you're almost gonna choose your college, your major, but you're like
Yeah,
not quite there yet. So it's a
I
really,
know.
really
It's
big
like
stepping
nerve-wracking.
stone. It is
Yeah.
nerve-wracking. Yeah, I agree for sure. So I think that's a really good answer. Something you touched on, which I want to add on too, is that in class we learned that peers tend to have a really strong influence during adolescence.
Hmm.
Sometimes even more than family does. Do you feel
Hmm.
like your friends have a big impact on your decisions or behavior, and in what ways?
Definitely. Okay, so I like strongly believe it's like who you surround yourself in. So I
Hmm.
found that like when I surround myself around people that are more a little bit more on like the wild side, they don't really care what people think. They're kind of just like do whatever. They don't really care about grades. It definitely influences me to like try less or kind of just like, I'll do it later. Or, oh, I'll just apply to a college that has a higher acceptance rate because it doesn't matter. My grades don't matter. So I definitely feel
Right.
like when I'm around people who are unmotivated, that like rubs off on me versus literally when I'm around like in my orchestra class kids who want to go to Stanford. It rubs on
Mm,
me. I want to do better. I want to try harder because I'm like, wow, like it makes me reflect on like how I am. So definitely a big,
that's
I
so
would say
true.
it's more academically rather than like peer pressure vibes for
Yeah.
sure. I
Like, would you
wouldn't,
say, oh, sorry.
no, continue.
Would you say that your values are more coming from your family or your friends, and then your friends kind of mainly influence you in like the more social aspects, like
Mhm.
different kind of behaviors and academics and social skills in that
Yes.
way?
Okay, so how I would split it up is my family like teach me more morals about like my morals about family, beliefs, religion,
Mm-hmm.
more things that will actually carry me further in life, careers, jobs, raising a family versus my friends come kind of short term. So
Yeah,
behavior wise, how I act around like boys or how I act around my
it's true.
teachers. And then like again, I would agree with what you said academically. Of course, my parents push like, grades, but they're more the
Mm-hmm.
long term get a career. My peers are more get a good grade in the class. So I would say
It's
my
true.
friends are more short term about how they affect me, and then my parents are more long term, kind of. With if that makes sense. If you need me to
Yeah,
explain, I can.
definitely. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
One other thing I wanted to touch on is we also learned that teenagers naturally have a shift in their sleep cycle, meaning that they tend to stay up later and wake up later. Do you feel like
Ooh,
that matches your experience? And how does
yeah.
that affect your daily life, like school or mood and
Oh
work,
my.
that kind of thing?
So this is literally like completely right. This is
Yeah.
completely right, completely 100% right. So on weekends, I'll literally go to bed at like 2 a.m. I'll wake
Yeah.
up at 12 p.m. I don't get anything done. I'm drowsy the entire day. I'm
Mm-hmm.
really lazy. But this week on school, since school's starting back up after spring break, I've been on
Mm-hmm.
a good thing where I'm going to bed around 10 to 11 and then waking up at 6:15. And it's been
That's
so nice.
great.
I get a lot more done. I'm really productive. I will say towards bedtime, I'm definitely sleepy because I'm like, wow, like I've been up
Yeah.
all day.
Yeah.
But it's like with the repetitive cycle I find when like I'm waking up late, I go to bed late. It's just a cycle that never stops. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Would you rather always have that sleep cycle of like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., or would you rather have like a later night on the weekends? Or what's your ideal sleep cycle, like long
So
term?
my ideal sleep cycle long term is I'm assuming most jobs, depending, let's round 9 to 5. I'm sure it's not always
Hmm.
going to be like that,
Yeah.
but my ideal would definitely be go to bed early, wake up early. I think that that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's like get your full 8 to 9 hours of sleep. I personally function really well on a lot of sleep. I know
Hmm.
that a lot of people can be different, but I do love my idea like a weekend, like going to bed a little later, just to kind of treat yourself. You have nothing to really do the next day, Saturday and Sunday. So
Yeah.
that would kind of be my ideal. Sleep in on the weekends and then wake up early in the week.
That's
Yeah.
great. Okay. So also another like textbook idea I wanted to ask you about this concept of nature versus nurture, meaning whether people are shaped more by their genetics or by their environment experiences. So which do you feel has influenced you more, nature or nurture?
I would, can you repeat the
Right.
definition one more time,
So
please?
meaning people are shaped by their genetics, like
Mhm. Yes, my family.
your genes, or it's nurture, like the way your family treats you, your environment, how your school life treats you, that kind of thing.
Mhm. So I would definitely say how my school life treats me, which is would be the nature portion,
Yeah,
not necessarily school life, but I would say environmental.
right.
Just because I'm around it, like all, at school I'm
Yeah.
around it 8 hours a day. the
Mm-hmm.
way my family acts, I'm around them, 24/7. So it's definitely like you pick up on those behaviors, and the way they act really like can contribute to the way you act and pick up certain stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's
Mhm.
how it is for me.
Yeah, I do feel like, um, yeah, like if someone maybe was like more prone to like mental illness, like genetically, and they
Hmm.
were put in like your scenario, like you live a very busy life, you go to public school, like
Hmm.
you have a lot of people in your circle, like I think the nurture really has a big impact, like the environment has a big impact on mental health, how we see ourselves, like our bodies. So I think honest, I agree that nurture just plays such a huge part in all of that. Like,
Hmm.
it could really make or break just who you're with and who, if people
Yeah.
are bullying you, like if people are just not very accepting or kind, it just really impacts somebody.
Hmm.
Okay. So have you ever encountered anything in your life resembling like a gender bias or any kind of ageism, would you say? Kind of hard, but I don't know. I think,
I'm more trying to think because again, in high school it's like a little harder just because I
yeah.
haven't been in like the real life where I can see it. Um, I would say maybe in sports, I would kind of see it a
Hmm.
little more. We have a flag
Yeah,
football team at school, and that's kind of strictly just for girls. So I could maybe see how that is gender biased, like not, I guess the boys have the football, but what if there's boys out there that like don't want to do the rough, like hardcore football?
that's true. And they probably will be
So
judged for not wanting to do
yeah,
the hardcore
exactly.
football. So
Yeah,
that's a good
exactly. So they
example.
come into like the flag football, which is more meant for girls, but then they get judged. Like that's
Yeah,
for girls, not guys. So I could see it in that, like
that's a good
sports.
one.
Hmm.
I also experienced something, I guess this helps you. Like a lot of people like will look at me and go, "Oh, like you seem so young. Like, oh my gosh, like
Oh,
you're
like you must not
16."
know anything.
People are
Yeah.
really judgmental of how you appear as well. Like your how you age,
Hmm.
just age wise. Like people all the time tell me when I work, like, oh my gosh, like you're 22. I thought you were 16, and it can come off
Yeah,
sometimes like pretty rude and
a little
judgmental.
rude.
So, I try not to let it bother me, but it's something that I experience. I was wondering if you ever had that too.
Hmm.
I don't know, but since you are in that age range, it probably
Yeah.
isn't like as
Some
negative.
maybe yeah, I would agree with you. It's never really been a negative thing for me. I
Hmm.
always take it as a compliment when someone's like, "Oh, like you're really old, like mature for your age."
That's true.
I always take it as a good thing. I've never have experienced that, or maybe in a situation like my mom or a family member can be like, "You're acting immaturely. You're acting like you're a baby, or like you're acting like you're 12." Sometimes that can
Mm.
get annoying, but it because
Yeah,
it's like I'm trying to like express how I'm feeling. I'm not trying to be compared to like an age I was a couple years ago. Like if that makes sense. So
that's
maybe
no, yeah,
again, not harsh, but
yeah. Kind of like almost the reverse of how I experience it in a way. So
mhm,
that's very interesting. Thank you.
yeah.
Um, okay, so I also want to ask you, what advice would you give someone who's entering your stage of life, adolescence?
One advice that I would give is to really plan out your time well and put your mental health before anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I do is make a list if you have homework, because you have to balance homework, SAT, your GPA, a
Mm-hmm.
job, if you personally want a job. So, you really need to prioritize your time and you need to realize that if you are overwhelmed and overworked, you need to take a break because
Yeah.
you can only go for so long until you just crumble. And so that's been the biggest thing for me in junior year is like when I realize I have too much, take a step back, do one thing at a time. And again,
Mm-hmm.
look back on my to-do list, prioritize what's most important. So that's kind of what I would suggest. As far as school,
Yeah.
but going into like actual life and like being in my age is really just to try to be kind to everyone. Look at different point of views because
Mm-hmm.
like you're at this age where you're about to go into college and you're about to be around 15,000 others who have different
Mm-hmm.
opinions as you. So you kind of have you've been in this bubble your whole life. You have to know like other people are going to have different views as you or be different or you know, just like
Yeah,
that.
that's
Yeah.
so true. Like for me, I went to a private school and
Mhm.
like a private college. And so when I first got my hospital job and like there's so many people that I meet every day and like work with very closely and they're all so different than me. So I feel like
Yes.
having that exposure to just different cultures, points of view, and worldviews early on is so valuable for the
Hmm.
future because you're not going to be so jarred if someone's like has a totally opposite worldview than you. It's,
Or they come from like a different culture. You're not
yeah,
like
like I mean, I live in Virginia and here we have so many people coming from like Iran, like India, um, Asian countries, all over the place. So learning
Mhm.
how to just like mesh well with people is really, really valuable in this day and
Yes.
age. So it's great. A few more wrap-up questions. We're almost done. So this is
No.
about like stress and emotions. So what stresses you out right now?
As of right now, you can probably guess what I've been talking about mostly, but yes, school.
Cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like at this age, school is like the biggest thing in your life right now. Especially as
Hmm.
a junior, you're almost applying to colleges. It's a huge deal. So
Hmm.
yeah, I get
Yeah.
that. Anything else that stresses you out besides that?
Um, Sometimes can be like what others think about me. I think that's been a big one. Again, like I kind of
Hmm.
touch back on like social things is really important for me. And I try not to let it get to me, but like if something goes wrong or if someone acts a little differently, that can really stress me out. Like, oh, did I do something
That's
wrong?
true. Yeah. I think that
Yes.
definitely goes in the hand. Like, I do think that you have a pretty good concept of self. Like, you have a really good idea of like your morals, values, like your future. But still, even with a strong sense of self, you can still be susceptible to outside judgment and like worrying about what people think about you. Like, that can still go hand in hand. So it's difficult to I even struggle with like wanting to be liked a lot. So I think that's really hard to go out of, but it's very common, unfortunately.
Hmm.
So you think that you'll ever get less or have less of a need to be liked later on in life, or will always kind of be there?
Um, I think because I feel like once I maybe get like my own job and I have my own family, like I find my significant other and I have like kids and I have like, aunts and uncles and
Mm-hmm.
my husband-in-law's family, I feel like then it really doesn't matter because all you
That's
really
true.
need is just like your little community, your little family,
Mm-hmm.
your own circle. So I think eventually it will go away. But I think it is going to be here like, through college. I
Yeah.
can and then I definitely feel like going into like the workforce, I would want everyone around me to like me.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I feel like it definitely is going to linger for a little bit, but I think eventually it would die down.
Yeah, I totally feel the same way, pretty much. Like, especially at your job, you really want to be liked and have like just positive relations with your coworkers. Like, I want everyone to like you, to like working with you, being around you. So I think that's definitely hard to combat at work because I mean,
Hmm.
you don't want to add any stress to your work life. So
Hmm.
it can be difficult in
Yes.
that way. But I do
Yes.
think that yeah, once you have like your circle, you have your family, then you have like your husband family. Like once you kind of find yourself, like you have such a life established, it's definitely not totally healthy to like worry about outside judgment. I think you're right that you will have a lot less of that at that point.
Hmm.
But I think we're reaching the end of the interview. I think we had
Okay.
some really good conversations. I love to hear what you were thinking about adolescence. So I really
Hmm.
appreciate your time, Audrey. I really loved it. So thank you so
Perfect.
much.
Thank you
I
so much for
appreciate it.
having me.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so this is Dorothy. She's in her 50s. She's my mom. She's in her 50s. And so I wanted to first start off by asking you, about the stages of development. And this first question is just, would you consider yourself to be in young adulthood, middle adulthood, or late adulthood? And why do you feel that stage fits you best?
Middle adulthood.
That's
Definitely
good.
not late.
That's true. Yeah.
No,
I am in young adulthood. You're in middle,
I'm
and I would
middle.
say your mom is probably in late adulthood.
Yeah, my mom's
Oh,
92. Yeah, and I'm almost 53, so I'm still um 52 until May 24th.
wow. And why do you feel that stage fits you best?
Well, I think chronologically that's kind of where I'm at. Um, I feel that I guess this is kind of midlife, right?
Hmm.
I've been around for a while and still learning how to navigate things, right? Yeah, life is good though.
Very
Yes.
good answer. Okay, so in my class, you've learned that people in this stage of life are often focused on things like contributing to others, maintaining relationships, and reflecting on their accomplishments, especially in areas like career and family. Do you feel like those characteristics match your experience? So why or why not?
Um, yeah, I think I'm, my probably my main focus is relationships, right? Because it's relationship with God, number one, and relationships with my family, my husband, and my children. And yeah, that's like the priority, right? The main thing. And then after that, your job, right? My job is very important to me. But even there, I have an amazing team that I work with, and so those are relationship sort of oriented too, because you have to be kind to people, you have to be, courteous, polite, whatever, all that, helpful,
Mm-hmm.
cooperating. So yeah, I think that's definitely the highlight right now. Just working on those connections and developing myself in those ways. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very good. Um, Kind of similar question or we idea. We also talked about generativity, which like generating, which means contributing to the next generation, whether that's through parenting, mentoring, or making a difference in work or the community. Do you feel like the idea reflects your experience and in what ways?
What's that meaning of generativity
I mean,
again?
just like contributing, like generating, it's compared to stagnation. So
Uh-huh.
whether you're stagnant in life, not contributing, like, helping others, making good changes, but you're generating new things. Um, and I think I can tell, like, well, you've generated, like, in your life, a new marriage, which is I think that's part of it. And then also, um, in your job, you do help young people. So that's one thing, right?
Yeah, so lots of newness, lots of new things happening for sure. I mean, just got remarried on
Mm-hmm.
December 19th last year. So that's very new and wonderful. Um, and in my job, yeah, I work at an aviation school, so I work with a lot of young people who are pursuing their dream to become an airline pilot or a helicopter pilot. So I definitely is contributing to their pursuing their dreams, like I said, and becoming contributing, factors in society as that as pilots.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, I don't see myself as stagnating in any way. I feel like there's been lots of changes and lots of moving in positive directions. I think there's lots of moving in a direction.
Yeah, I think if you were more like in a stagnant period, it'd be a lot different. Because everything right now you have is like moving in a positive direction rather than just like the same or it's going, negatively. So I think that's very good.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I'm in majoring on change.
yeah, very,
Lots of
very good.
change.
This next question is kind of more about like motherhood and stuff. So interesting. This
Mhm,
is kind of based off an experiment. So we learned about attachment styles from childhood based on a study where
mhm,
researchers observed how toddlers reacted when their caregiver left and returned to the room. Some children showed secure attachment, while others showed insecure attachment, depending on how they responded. So insecure children, when the mom came back into the room, they would cry and hug her and wouldn't want to let go. They seemed just like very upset, like mad at the mom that she left, and they wouldn't be
mhm,
able to go back to playing because they would just be so, so upset and they weren't sure if she would come back. But the secure attachment
mhm,
style toddlers were able to, like, they cried a
mhm,
bit, they hugged her, but then went back to playing
mhm,
and they felt like they were safe, and their mom, she came back and they knew that she would. So,
mhm.
um, what do you think? could possibly cause that difference in attachment styles based off your experiences.
So, are you asking me like how I was as a toddler or how I experienced
No,
my
like why
kids?
you no no like how what do you think makes kids learn those attachment styles? Like why were the insecure children that way? Like what made them that
Yeah.
way?
That's interesting. It's an interesting question. Hmm. Yeah, because I mean, I guess you have to establish with a toddler, I mean, with a baby, you have to establish their sense of safety and security, and like that's why I don't believe you should let kids cry, because they can't comfort themselves. They can't console themselves. They're just gonna feel abandoned and have this, horrible experience, and then later on, you know, feel insecure when somebody is not there, or leaves them or whatever. So you have to establish that security that you're there for the child. And yeah, so I think probably those kids that were really insecure, I mean, and had the difficulty of being left alone. And then when the mom came back, they were showing such, you know, sadness and symptoms of being upset. Maybe they experienced some abandonment
Hmm.
um, in the past, and experienced being left alone too long, or not getting a response when they cried.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think it's really important to make kids feel like you're present, you're there to help them, and I say hold your kids as long as you can, for as long as
Yeah.
you want.
Well, that's very insightful. Obviously, I don't know, but we had like a whole module on that kind of stuff, and so I wrote like actually like a paper about why you shouldn't let your baby cry itself to sleep because it actually does like it can create literally what's called toxic stress, and
Oh,
so the babies will have such high cortisol levels that it
oh my,
changes the way that their brain develops and the way that it grows. Like they
that's
actually
horrible.
have differences in their brain chemistry, like everything changes. So it's really bad. So,
Oh my gosh, that reminds me of when I was, having some, you guys as babies. I read that book about, letting kids cry and how you're supposed to put them on a schedule, and you're supposed to. I don't remember I think it was called Baby Wise, but I don't remember the authors. But there was like a name of what you're supposed to do with the kids, and get them to sleep by themselves and let them cry. And your pediatrician literally told me to put you guys to bed, close the door, put a towel underneath the door, and let you cry. And put
oh,
a towel there so I wouldn't hear you as much. I mean, you know, yeah,
that's kind
wow.
of crazy. Yeah,
It's
that's
horrible.
awful. I know
That's
that.
awful. That's awful.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that definitely probably contributes to that insecure attachment style. And I can say that since obviously you did not do that to me, I never had any attachment issues. I think I was very securely attached to you. I don't have trust
Mhm.
issues, and so I think that worked out for us. So, um, let's see. A couple more questions. What advice would you give someone who is just entering your stage of life, middle adulthood, and why do you think that advice is important?
What advice would I give to
Yeah,
someone entering middle stage?
yeah.
Oh boy. I'm not good at advice. I really am not. Um, hmm, hmm. Just be generous with your time for your loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know, like, cultivate a grateful attitude, and just decide that, you make your own happiness. Like, you decide that you're going to be happy,
Mm-hmm.
and gratefulness, contentment, all that is very important for that. So to put yourself in that space of joy and happiness, which you control. It's not your circumstances that control your happiness, it's you, your attitude. And so if you're grateful and content and thankful for things, that'll help you to be to have that joy. And you just decide you're going to be happy no matter what the circumstances. You're happy, and then you get to pass that on to other people, and you bring that vibe,
That's true.
to other people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Very good. Um, hmm. What role do you feel you play in your family now compared to earlier in life?
Well, it is a very different role since my kids, you and your brother, are married.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm here to love you and be available for you at any time if you need me. But I'm not there to tell you what to do or to provide for you like I did before. So you're independent. You're adults now. You're independent. So I'm not in the same mothering role as I was before, but it's more of a support role.
Mm-hmm.
I'll always be your mom. You'll always be my babies.
Mm-hmm.
Always. But it's more of a support role, and I don't tell you what to do or
Yeah,
ask you about business.
I know. It's kind of crazy. Like you raise someone for most of their life and then they just go away. Does that make you sad?
Well, in a way, I mean, like if I'm driving around town, and I go around on our old route, the way we used to drive to school, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I have to drive them to school over here.
Does that make
Or
you want
just
to have more kids?
no, not right now. No, I'm done that. I'm done. I'm past that.
Do you ever wish that
Yeah.
you had more kids?
Well, I think that I always wanted four. So yeah.
I think I actually knew that.
No, no, I wanted more. I wanted either two or four. So not three. I didn't want an odd man out. I
Wow,
wanted four.
I didn't actually know that. What made you not have four? Was it just because that you had us kind of like, well, you
Mm,
obviously tried for a while and then you,
no, because I mean, I tried for 2 years, but like, no, that's in the compared to other couples. I think 2 years of trying to have a baby is not really that long.
that's like a
Um,
long time to me.
yeah. Well, other people tried for years and years,
Yeah.
but um, can you hang on just 1 second?
Yeah, do you want to put a pause?
Yeah, pause.
Okay, hold
Are
on.
you able to do that?
Yeah, pausing. Okay. Okay, so what were you about to say?
Yeah, so I was talking about the fact that I um, was going to have 4 kids. So I
Mm,
wanted either two or four. I actually loved being pregnant. I loved feeling the baby moving inside of me, and it was so wonderful. And yeah, but it was more like, you know, decisions, that well, I guess my ex didn't want to have more kids, so that sort
um,
of put the kibosh on that.
that's sad. I feel like that's why I always thought maybe he was one that always said he only that they wanted to have two. So I feel like I just never heard you say that you wanted to have four. So you must have just said that for both of you guys or something like that. So I don't know. But
Yeah. Well, I guess you want to, um, present a united front.
yeah, not seem like he was one that was prohibiting you from having your more children.
Mhm. I wanted to have kids up until 40. I was like, I really had that desire.
Crazy. Hmm.
Yeah.
Did you always want to be a mom ever since you were little, or was it just something that just like happened later?
Yeah, I definitely always wanted to be a mom. My dream was to be a wife and mother. That was I didn't have huge career goals. I mean, I kind of did want to be a doctor, but that was definitely secondary to being a wife and mom.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, maybe just one more question
Hmm.
about future perspective. What
Mhm.
are you looking forward to in the next stage of your life?
Mm, well, I'm excited about the things that are coming up. I'm excited about my new life with my husband, and we're going to be moving soon from to the Bay Area in California to Southwest Washington, so Pacific Northwest. We're going to be moving, so yeah, that's going to be fun.
That's exciting.
Um, Finding a new home there. Um, and just continuing to enjoy my kids and enjoy my husband's kids, and um, you know um, I think yeah, it's like I have great expectations for good things coming up.
That's good. Yay. Okay. Well, I'm happy to hear that because that's important. Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
think that was the last question. So, thank
Mm-hmm.
you very much for answering and talking about your life and yourself. Really appreciate it. So,
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you.
yeah. Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
All right. So now for the summaries of our two interviews. Firstly, Audrey, my first one, who was 17. Found out a lot of good information from her. A lot of it aligned with what I was expecting to hear. With what the textbook was saying, most major events being school, which she really emphasized a lot. And then just of course like friendships within school, her class, and then we didn't really talk about romance at all since that's not really a big part of her life at this point, which is totally fine. Not everyone goes through that kind of phase in high school. Um, but other than that, we talked about kind of how friends versus family shape us, how family more so affects her like values wise, and then just like long term growth. Whereas her friends, depending on who she's with, she'll feel more motivated to do well in school or just to kind of have fun. So friends is more um, inflictive like on her like personality type, mood, that kind of thing. So that seemed like it was pretty close to what I thought was gonna be happening. So pretty good. And then with my mom, obviously she had gone through a lot of change in the last year, which definitely affects I think a lot of her answers. Um, because when you're in the middle of your life, you've gone through a divorce, a second marriage. It's just it might not have been where you thought you would be when you were young. So it's might be kind of hard to look back and say, oh yeah, it was all positive. A lot of it wasn't. So I think it can be hard to look back at that in a positive way. But I think she does in a way that her kids really were the positive part of her life. So she mentioned how she loved being pregnant, actually wanted to have four kids, not two. But then my father didn't want to have more kids, which is interesting. And then as a child, I never knew that she wanted four. He kind of painted it in a picture of, oh, we both wanted to have two. Two is perfect for us. So I never really knew my mom's thoughts on that, which is interesting. But um, also kind of talked about how um, it can be hard to go from like a full time mom to your kids have both left even like your part of the country. So she's in a more supportive role now. She doesn't really interfere with anyone's lives. Like she's very supportive, doesn't really tell us what to do, just gives advice and loves us so well. So I think she transitions from role to role really, really well for somebody. Then also I talked about the research on fertilizing and sleep training. And I mentioned, I asked her some questions about the experiment on secure versus insecure attachment styles. And she that had some good thoughts on what could make a kid lean into an insecure attachment style. So I think that was pretty good to know because I obviously am not a mom, so I don't have all the insight on how what it's like to have to be always consoling a baby or a toddler and like what it's like, what the needs are there. So it was good to know for sure. And then I told her the research on what happens when you let your baby cry yourself to sleep for hours and hours. And she was shocked. So I think it's definitely not everybody knows about that. Just really interesting. So I think that's good to get people aware of, for sure. And like she said, our pediatrician told her to let us cry ourselves to sleep. So it's interesting the perspectives on that. I mean, I'm sure there are some kids that were sleep trained and turned out fine, but then there is still a lot of supporting evidence that it does change the way that your brain functions and is wired. But then I asked them both what their advice was for someone entering their stage of life, and Audrey said to plan out your time well, put your mental health first, as well as take breaks, which I think a lot of this is focusing on school and applies more to like a teenager who's trying to balance school, friends, maybe they have a job. But it's still good advice, like even for me, someone who works full time, takes a class, is married, it's important to plan your time out well. Take care of your mental health, of course, as well as taking breaks. I think it is solid advice, but my mom's advice was a little bit more all-encompassing, and you could tell that was by somebody who lived more life and kind of knows what's important. So my mom said that to have a mindset of gratefulness, that it's key, and that you're the one that controls your happiness. So whatever circumstance that you're in, whatever is happening around you, that you're the one that gets to control whether or not you're happy. So I think that's really important because, I mean, obviously she went through a really hard time recently and still showed up for me and my brother and our family and was happy. So I think that just goes to show that whatever's happening, I mean, you're the one that dictates what you feel. So I think that was really interesting, and it's something that we should all keep in mind for sure. Because, I mean, things won't go your way all the time. And obviously you want to live a happy life and just have fulfillment. So, but we're the ones in charge of that. So that was most of what my findings were from these interviews. I really enjoyed doing them. I hope you enjoyed listening, and I really enjoyed the class overall. I thought it was super interesting, and I loved writing all the papers and doing the discussion boards. Super fun. So yeah, thanks for watching.